Hello, Ken Spriggs here with a video showing my first prints that I made with my brand new Elegoo Saturn printer. Really love this printer. It's just as excellent quality as my original Elegoo Mars, but certainly much larger. Gives me a lot of leeway in not only printing larger figures, which you'll see in this video, but also printing regular size models or figures, but doing them a lot faster because I can put a lot more parts of a figure onto the build plate, which on the Mars I was limited by the size of it. So I did a teaser, two teasers actually in my community. One of a 7-inch Mandalorian that I printed from Gambody, and I also printed a larger version of him, and I printed a larger version of Ahsoka Tano. So just minor spoilers, and I hope I'm not spoiling anything for anyone by watching this, but I kind of gave away the name they gave to the child, which is Grogu. And also, I'm not giving away anything else about the episodes, but hopefully if you're watching this, you've seen The Mandalorian and you've seen the episodes. So I'm not giving away any plot points, but I will probably give away a little bit more once I start building some of these figures in my diorama. The Ahsoka Tano figure is from CG Trader, which is also a really good site. I like them a lot. Both of these figures are excellent. And as you'll see, I was able to print them very large from my Saturn printer. Also because they made these well and they split them up into a bunch of parts. I always like when they do that with 3D prints. It makes it easier to print it, less supports needed to hurt the detail on them. I really don't like it when you get a lot of these free files and it's all one piece figure and it's got a sword sticking out and his arms, and it's just really hard to print that and have it come out well. But so I have these both printed now. The larger versions I'm not making for myself in order to build and paint because I really don't want them that large. They couldn't really be feasibly in a diorama, and I don't want just really large figures of them. So what I'm printing them for is for a friend of mine, and he had also purchased the files because I don't really have the license to print copies of this. And so because he purchased them as well as myself, he doesn't have a 3D printer, so I just printed off versions of them, and he wanted them to be larger. He's going to build them separately. So they're going to him. I try to avoid doing that, not because of the cost or anything. It's just really time consuming. It took me upwards of a week to print these two, and that's fine. I don't mind it in certain situations, but certainly, like I said, I can't print them out and sell them to people. I don't have the license to do that, and I wouldn't want to be violating the rules of it. I respect these sites, and I wouldn't want to do that. But secondly, it's very time intensive, and then cleaning them up and cleaning up the supports and all that stuff. So it's not that easy of a process. I won't be painting them, of course, or building them. So that'll be up to him. But let's go ahead and take a look at these awesome figures that I was able to print on my new Elegoo Saturn. All right, so here's the Ahsoka Tano figure that I teased in my community. This is a figure from a website called cgtrader.com. Really cool site. I like them and Gambody. They're both really good sites that make quality figures. So she's in several pieces, obviously, which makes her easier to print. So you have her upper torso, her head, this part of her hair is separate. You have her arms in their lightsaber blades. I just have it stuck in there. This one too. Her two boots are separate. And her legs and her hips are separate as well. Really nice detail on the material. Really cool detail on her face. So you have all of the tattoos or whatever those are on her face that you can paint. They're raised. Her eyes actually have some pupils, which are pretty cool. A little bit easier to paint them. And the same with the stripes on her hair. Now there is a back piece of the hair that goes in right there. And I did print that, but it doesn't fit, so I'm thinking I forgot to reduce it. This whole figure is 90% of the actual file that came from CG Trader. So I was trying to make it in scale with a Mandalorian, which I'll show you here in a moment. And to do so, it's kind of tricky because each of these files come in separate sizes depending on the creator and how they make it to be. So obviously they made this to be about a foot tall, give or take. So I wanted to reduce it. So what I did was I put her head, take this apart here. It's separate from the hair, by the way. I just have them stuck together. But I took her head and I put it on the build plate along with her upper torso. And I compared them to Mando's helmet and his upper torso, which seemed to be fine. They seem to work. Let me just show you those real quick. All right, so as you can see, his helmet and her face, basically, instead of her head, look like they're similar in size, and the same with their chest. So I thought I was doing a correct scale to each of them, but then when you get to her legs and her hips, they're considerably larger. At first I thought maybe I printed it the wrong size, maybe I didn't reduce it down to the 60 or 90%. But then when I printed the legs off, which I know are at 90%, they fit just fine. Otherwise they would not fit in those pegs. So it's just the design of the figure that her proportions are somewhat exaggerated. So in the end, it made her about an inch taller than what Mando's going to be. Here's his chest, obviously, and his helmet. So, but that's fine. The friend that I'm printing this for, he's not going to be putting them together in any kind of diorama. They're just going to be painted and displayed separately. So it's not a big deal. So here's her separate hair. And then also here are the various plating that goes on her. So you have the front plate, the back plate, two side plates, and then on the back of it, these two pieces go like that. Okay, so you have one on the front, you have one on each side, and you have three on the back. Okay, so nice that they made these all separate. That makes it so much easier to print these parts, easier to paint these, since these are going to probably be some kind of metallic versus the rest of the body. It's just all around better to be able to produce this figure. The face as well, you can paint the face the orangish, reddish orange that you're going to do, and paint her tattoos and that top band, and then do her hair separately. So it makes it easier to be able to print and to paint it, put it together. And of course these blades come off. Come on, get off there. Do this from here. So the blades come off. They're a little bent, but before he puts it together and paints it, he can just put it in some really hot water, bend it back into place, and hold it and put it in some cold water, and it'll straighten it out. I straightened it the best I could before I hit him with the UV light, but they tend to want to warp a little bit other than that, so that one's in there a little tighter. But they do come out, and then you have the hands and the arms. So the same thing, you can paint these separately and then put the blades in when you're ready to do it. So all right, so a really cool kit, really well done. I just have to print, well, the back hair again, since I made it the wrong scale right here. I have to print that, make sure it's 90%, and do it again. And then print the base, which is a pretty good size, and then and that'll be all ready for this. So okay. All right, and there I am, just kind of holding her in place. She's not glued together in any way, obviously. Very big, as you can see with my hand there. She goes out to be about 11 inches tall. The base itself is about an inch, give or take, thick, so she's about a foot tall. very large, very big figure. So quite tremendously large. Mine that I'm going to make to be in scale with my Mandalorian figure is going to be about 7 inches. So I'm not going to make her anywhere near this tall. Print the part's much smaller. So, okay. All right, and here is the figure of Mando. And he comes out to be about 10 inches, give or take, in height. Maybe a little taller with the base. I'll show you that here in a moment. It's a separate piece. But still a fairly sizable figure. Here are his legs, of course. Here's his chest. Actually, I'll put these together in a moment and show you him like I did Ahsoka. He comes with a little pouch that hangs on him and a little Grogu figure. Baby Yoda. Just kidding. Very adorable. And he goes inside the pouch, of course. He comes with 2 different versions of his cape. This particular one is just off to the side because my friend wanted the jetpack, and the jetpack wouldn't fit with the normal big cape on the back. His helmet, of course, is really nicely done. You have his 2 arms. One of them's holding his pistol. They're both kind of down to his side a little bit. He's in kind of an action pose. His left arm, I mean. And then this is a cool feature, and I also like how this print was made. His pauldrons are separate, and they go on. So you can paint them first, paint them metallic first, and then put them onto the arms afterwards. So that's nicely done. His right one has his little symbol in it from the horned beast on there, also nicely done. And they also made a couple other pieces for his belt that are separate. These little charges, they go on there separate, so you can paint those separate. These little pouches, one goes in the front of his belt, one goes down on his left leg. All right, so also easier to put together in print, makes a much better figure for him to print. So now I've also started, well, I pretty much all printed the version I'm going to use. Mine is about 7 inches. So you can see the comparison with the legs. So I have his legs done, pretty much all of his parts as well. His chest. Here's the larger flowing cape. It's really cool. It's sort of flowing out to the side of him like he's walking and the wind's blowing it. So I wanted to go with that one. I'm not going to do the jetpack on my version. You have the child in his little pouch. His arms, of course. You have his rifle, which I printed for the bigger one as well. I have that, and I'll show you here in a moment. But it's not going to be attached because you can't attach it with the jetpack. And then his chest. Okay, so mine's a smaller one, and I'm going to make Ahsoka the same size and the same scale. I'll have to play with it a little bit more and get some of her larger features like her legs and compare them to his legs and that sort of thing and go from there. So I can get one in a better scale to him, because I'm going to put mine in a diorama. There's his helmet. Okay. All right. So I will be building this one in the near future and also printing out Ahsoka, as I said, and getting them built and painted up. So these other ones, these larger ones, I don't want them in this giant scale. But again, it shows you what I can do on my new Saturn, which is fantastic. So I can definitely make really large figures if I wanted to, but this would be a very big model, and it wouldn't be suitable to put into a diorama. It could be on a base, but being in a diorama would be kind of a problem. So, all right, let me go ahead and show you the rest of him as well. right, and here is the base. It's a very big hunk of resin. I made it solid on this one to give it a little bit of weight so it can have a solid base for the figure. The one for Ahsoka, I am not doing solid because it is much bigger and thicker than this, and it would be a lot of resin, so I don't want to do that. Certainly you could cut out the bottom of it. It's a flat bottom and smooth. You can cut it out and put some extra weight in it if you wanted to, and just add weight to it. But this one is a solid hunk of resin. This one's from Gambody, this figure. And it's got the 2 pegs for his feet. So he just stands on there that way. And part of it is supposed to be like the desert, and the other part are just some rocks, obviously. Nothing fancy, but it's a nice little base for him to stand on. It's kind of cool. And then here's the very large rifle that I made. It's a little bit more cleaning up on that to do on the bottom. But that's pretty cool. Once you put the jetpack on the back, there's just no room. There's no place to put the rifle. You couldn't put the rifle on there. It would just be in the way. So he can figure out what to do with it. If he wants to just have it standing somewhere up in the background or something, he can do something with it. But it's a cool part of it. So definitely I'd want to have that there, like his rifle. So all right. So so that's all completed and ready to go. As soon as I finish the base for Ahsoka, I'm not going to show you that. It just looks like a piece of Imperial machinery. It looks mechanical, like it's, you know, a piece from the Death Star or that kind of a imagery that they have in it. It's nothing fancy. Not even sure that it really applies to her per se, but it's just it's a base to put her on. So once I get that printed, that'll be all set, and I will go ahead and get that shipped off to my friend, and then I'll be beginning to work on this one back here for the Mando figure. All right. All right, and there is Mando holding him together on the base. He's not quite positioned the way he ought to be, obviously, since I'm just holding him there, but the child would be over a little bit and more facing the front. But it's kind of a cool pose. And he'll have his jetpack on the back. So definitely a very large figure. Really, really large. So looking pretty awesome. He's going to be really cool once he gets built and painted up as well on that base. So it's like the child is like biting him. Stop it, you're hurting me. Settle down, Grogu, we got a long way to go. So really cool. Definitely the most accurate figure I have seen of him, or at least for the moment. Obviously his armor has changed throughout the show, but this is accurate. All of his armor, that part down there, obviously his pauldrons, that kind of thing. So he looks really cool. All right, so definitely a very large, fantastic figure. All right, so some really cool stuff. Stay tuned. I will be printing a smaller version of Ahsoka Tano to be in a diorama with Mando and the child. It's going to be pretty cool, and possibly doing some effects, some light up effects on those as well. So I'm also working and have been working on my Discovery build, so continue to watch on that. I'll have a video soon for that. Started working on all the cargo pods and building those up. So okay, thank you to all my new subscribers. Stay tuned, and I will see you next time.